Are you a fan of 1990s comic books? You might not know about this one. Hi everybody, and welcome to yet another review video, and it is time for a blast from the past. That was extraordinarily cliche, and I apologize for that. Well, I don't actually. Well, anyway, today we are looking at Gargoyles comic book by Marvel Comics, issue 1, and we are, of course, talking about the first series of the Gargoyles comic books, published at the time by Marvel Comics from 1994 to 1995. It ran for 11 issues. And then it was discontinued, and it is not considered to be a canon, according to the creator of the show, Greg Weisman. Now, Marvel, they struck a deal to publish these comic books, and the art was masterfully done by Amanda Corner. Now, I have to say that she is one of my most favorite cartoonist creators, by which I mean that her artistic style really fits the atmosphere of the Gargoyles, being based on the TV show. Her style is very cartoonish-like, not very much realistic, as you would say, but that has always been my favorite style. And the writing was done by Martin Pasco. The inker was Alberto Saiken. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name. And the letterer was John Constanza. Now, the series itself came out after the first season of Gargoyles, and it is in many ways referencing the first season, but it does not follow the story when then the second season came out. And only it was after 2000, I think in 2006, another series of Gargoyles comic books came out by another publisher that then follows the events of the TV show and is considered to be the canon. Nevertheless, this, and we are only talking about the first issue, because I do want you to go and get these 11 issues for yourselves and enjoy it. So I'm not going to spoil much, just the first issue. There are going to be minor spoilers, so if you do not want this issue to be spoiled for you, leave, read it, and come back. So we are starting in, well, obviously, New York City. We know, if you have watched the TV show, or at least the first 5 episodes, which is really the introduction to the series and what happened and what it is all about. It is about a group of magical creatures, gargoyles, who are, well, living creatures at night, and they turn to stone gargoyles during the day. And the story in the TV show starts in, I think it was 992, and they were living at a castle in Scotland, and they were a friend of the Scottish lord and who owned the castle, well, a lady really, and the castle was under a siege, under attack by Viking raiders, and they were helping to fight the raiders. Now, long story short, they were betrayed, the castle was betrayed, the gargoyles were cursed, and the curse meant that they were to be turned to stone basically forever, or until the castle raises above the skies, above the clouds. Well, it so happened that at the end of the 20th century, in 1993, when the show was released, or 1992, something like that, a millionaire businessman and a scientist, David Xanathos, bought the castle, removed it from Scotland, moved it to New York on the top of his skyscraper, and that broke the curse. The gargoyles were brought back to life, and they had a new home. And from there, their adventures all took place in New York City, and then progressively they became the defenders of New York City. So really sort of superhero characters. And they made some friends along the way. The chiefest of them was a police detective, a female police detective, who was a very nice and very likable character. Her name is Eliza Maza. And so we start this issue with an attack in New York City, and a construction worker or construction workers are under attack by a creature who resembles a gargoyle, but is really some sort of or looks like a robot or an android. And there have been abductions, and this creature has been abducting different construction workers and people in New York City. And everybody obviously thinks that it is the Gargoyles. And Eliza Mazar, of course, she wants to investigate it, her being a detective, her and her companion, her partner. And she gets in the way and she's attacked by this creature as well. Fortunately, she is rescued. She is saved by Goliath, the leader of the Gargoyles. And it so then happens, it appears that Demona is the creature, is really her or she gargoyle in a robotic armor made by David Xanatos, because if you know from the show, if you've seen it, you know that Goliath had a girlfriend in the past, and apparently she was destroyed, she was killed, but she wasn't, and she survived as well until the 20th century, but she allied with Xanatos because she hated humans, and she then turned against Goliath, so from lovers they became sworn enemies. And so what Xanatos is trying to do here is to perform experiments and basically create artificial gargoyles or androids and robots to fight and defeat the gargoyles themselves. And Demona is helping him do that. We also meet the rest of the team, those gargoyles who all took names of different parts of New York City, like Hudson, he took the name from the Hudson River, or Bronx, the dog, and the Broadway, and so on and so forth. And it's so fascinating to read something that resembles the TV show so much, and it is even darker than the TV show itself. And if you've seen my review, and there is a review of the TV show, of the first episodes anyway, on my channel, you know that it took a huge inspiration from Batman the Animated Series, in that it, for its time, it is very dark, and it could be watched with pleasure by both the young ones and the adults, because it's for kids, yeah, but it's very far from being this kiddie animated TV show from the 80s, 90s. Of course, there were and have been animated movies and TV shows for more mature audiences, like anything made by Ralph Bakshi, really, or Ren and Stimpy, or the Gargoyles here, Batman the Animated Series. But for example, if you compare it to some other popular TV shows from about that time, like Spider-Man, the animated series, or the X-Men, the animated series, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the 1980s, it is definitely much more mature, much darker, and this Marvel comic book even more so. So I really only do recommend reading this, even though the story itself of the run of the series isn't finished. I do recommend you read it just for the pure and sheer enjoyment and the entertainment factor and the art by Amanda Conner, the inking and the colors, because it's a sight to behold. I thoroughly enjoyed reading it, and you will as well, believe me, especially if you are a fan of the Gargoyles TV show or just 1990s animation. But I do recommend you get acquainted with the show. You at least watch the first half of the first season, or ideally the first season, and then you can read this comic book series. Alright then, let me know in the comments down below what you think, if you are going to follow my recommendation, or if you have read this particular series. Tell me all about it. And that'll be all. Thank you very much for watching, and Namaria.